Hi, my name is Clearly, and I'm a Warlock from Deathwish. This is a walkthrough of Kil'Jaeden. As always, let's talk about group setup. You need 2 traditional tanks who will be responsible for picking up initial adds and sinister reflections, which shall be explained later. However, your main tank for this fight will be a Warlock. Your lock tank should wear exactly his normal gear, with only slight concessions made to pick up extra HP. 13 to 14k buffed is way more than plenty. Use normal DPS consumables and stay hit cap. We use 8 healers for this fight the majority of the time, which can be of any composition you feel best suits your raid. Deathwish brings 3 Circle of Healing Priests, 1 Resto Druid, 2 or 3 Resto Shamans, and a Holy Paladin. As far as DPS goes, you really cannot have too many Warlocks. The reason behind this is that not only are Warlocks at least 15% sexier than other DPS classes, but Seed of Corruption is going to be the primary source of your DPS on Sinister Reflections, which can be quite problematic if they are not handled swiftly. 3 Warlocks, including your lock tank, is a bare minimum, but Deathwish finds the fight infinitely more doable with 4 locks. Mages are kind of weak on this fight, but they do make excellent Dragon Orb controllers, so we usually bring 2. We also try to bring 2 Hunters to handle shield orbs. Aside from that, split up your remaining DPS as you see fit, but always try to ensure that all of your DPSers are given proper group synergy. Positioning for the fight isn't tremendously complicated. Pretend that this is the little veranda area where you enter. The 3 initial adds will be located here, here, and here. Your ranged DPS and half of your healers will start on this side with one of your traditional tanks, and your remaining healers and melee will run over to the side with your other traditional tank. The add in the center will be misdirected to the far tank, and the ranged DPS will kill the near side add. The adds do a stacking Shadow Bolt volley which can hit quite hard, so stay at maximum range. I generally run in to throw my curse up and then back up to avoid the volley. As a side note to locks, you can get shards off these dudes, which is especially tasty during the inevitable fight-learning wipe fests. Anyway, ranged kill the first add, and then everyone runs over to the other side, where you have someone double tanking the other 2 adds. Your first tank peels one of these adds off, and then you kill them both. It's also necessary to note that the adds spit out exploding imps of the sort you've seen throughout the instance, so try not to get yourself blown up. When these adds die, there's a fancy little cinematic sequence, and you have a couple seconds to get into position for the real fight as Kil'Jaeden spawns. Kil'Jaeden will pop up out of the ground in the middle of the room, and he will not move from this spot for the rest of the fight. Much like the unfortunate fellow on the skateboard on the subway in the movie Kids, Kil'Jaeden has no legs. Position your raid group spread out evenly in a semicircle around him. It's very important that everyone pay close attention to a distance check frame during the fight, as you must stay 10 yards away from one another during all non-stacking portions of the fight. The room is very large, so ensure that your healers are spread out evenly across the room so that everyone can receive healing, especially your Warlock tank. Usually, to spread our healers out, we try to keep Shamans and Paladins more centrally located and keep our Priests and Druids more towards the outside. In Deathwish, our spots are not assigned per se, but generally everyone will go to the same spot from week to week and phase transition to phase transition, so find a spot you like and stick with it. Phase 1 of the actual fight begins when Kil'Jaeden spawns and continues up until he reaches 85% HP. Kil'Jaeden does not actually have that many abilities, and the majority of the differences between phases is just how frequently he uses his abilities. His primary nuke on your lock tank is called Soulflay, which inflicts a fair amount of damage and also places a movement slowing debuff. He will also use something called Legion Lightning, which is something of an annoying Chain Lightning-esque mana burn. On a timer, he'll also cast Fire Bloom on up to 5 random raid members. Fire Bloom inflicts between 1600 and 1900 damage every 2 seconds to the person afflicted with the debuff and anyone within 10 yards of that person. It is for this reason that your raid group is spread out evenly in a semicircle around the boss. Additionally, every 30 to 60 seconds, he will spawn a shield orb, which will Shadow Bolt random members of your raid. Assign several of your ranged, ideally hunters, to kill these when they spawn. It's important to note that there is no tremendous rush to move the fight into Phase 2. It happened to us several times that someone DC'd during the polar during Phase 1, and we would hold off on transitioning the fight into Phase 2 to allow that person to get back online. When you're approaching the 85% mark, everyone that is able to should move in significantly closer to the boss. Phase 2 begins when Kil'Jaeden is brought down to 85% HP. At this time, he will spawn the first set of Sinister Reflections. Spread back to your original positions after the reflections spawn. The reflections will spawn on one random member of your raid group and will resemble that person. They each have 110,000 HP and must be picked up and tanked immediately by your 2 traditional tanks. The most annoying breed of Sinister Reflection is undoubtedly Priests, which is quite unfortunate for Deathwish because about a fifth of our raid group consists of Priests of one variety or another. The Priests will spam Renews on themselves and Kil'Jaeden, and they absolutely must be purged or dispelled promptly. Each class's reflections will have a variety of abilities specific to that class which that player themselves may or may not have, given their spec. The reason your raid group moved in close to KJ at the end of Phase 1 is so that the reflections can be tanked as close as possible to the boss. After your tanks pick up a reasonable threat lead, your Warlock should begin seeding Kil'Jaeden continuously until the adds are very nearly dead, at which point your melee can polish them off. In unfortunate circumstances, if you manage to get reflections from a ranged who neglected to move close to the boss, you may be unable to drag the reflections to the boss and be forced to seed them away from the boss. After he spawns the reflections, Kil'Jaeden will channel shadow spikes, which kind of function like Void Reaver's orbs in that they are dodgeable. You're welcome to dodge them if you prefer, but they don't silence you like Void Reaver's orbs, so they're nothing really to stress out about. They do place a Mortal Strike-like healing reduction debuff on you that lasts for a few seconds though, so be mindful. Another ability KJ gains during Phase 2 is called Flame Dart, which is a significant snare effect you must work around during stack-up phases. He will also spawn 2 shield orbs each time instead of just 1. Now, let's talk about dragon orbs. In 4 positions in the room, you'll find dragon orbs. Assign 2 members of your raid group to be Ord controllers, and position one of them on one side of the room and the other opposite to them. We use mages for this role. Kil'Jaeden will emote something cute and RP-ish about how he's channeling energy into one of the orbs, and one of the orbs will activate. When you click on the orb, you will begin controlling a dragon a la Razorgore from BWL, but this time you'll be a pretty blue dragon instead of an ugly black dragon. The dragons are immune to damage. They have several abilities. They can blink, which is groundbreaking and exciting. They also have 2 breaths, both of which are cone-shaped. Breath Haste will give everyone hit by it a 25% movement, casting, and attack speed buff for 30 seconds, and Breath Revitalize will give everyone hit by it health and mana regeneration equal to 2250 each over 10 seconds. After the first Shadow Spike finishes, stack up your entire raid group in a designated spot located near the Warlock tank and right next to Kil'Jaeden so that the dragon can come over and breathe on everyone, after which you immediately spread back to your initial positions. The most important ability the dragons have, though, is called Shield of the Blue. 30 seconds after Kil'Jaeden activates the first dragon orb, Kil'Jaeden will begin casting something called Darkness of 1,000 Souls, which hits everyone for around 50,000 shadow damage. Shield of the Blue, which the dragon can create in the form of a large bubble around himself, will protect you from almost all of this damage, so shortly before it's time for Darkness of 1,000 Souls to be cast, your entire raid group should stack up next to him once again so the dragon can create this bubble around you. Be sure that you stack up in front of the dragon as tightly as possible. While everyone is stacked up in front of the dragon, the controller should be sure to breathe, haste, and revitalize on everyone again. Kil'Jaeden will continue to use Darkness of 1,000 Souls every 30 seconds or so, and it functions as a soft end rage for your raid. You see, every dragon can only cast Shield of the Blue twice before it will die, and you are only given 1 dragon orb to work with during Phase 2, so you can only survive 2 darkness casts during Phase 2 before you will wipe because you are unable to survive a 3rd. For this reason, it is imperative that your DPS bust their asses to burn KJ from 85 to 55 as quickly as possible. Firebloom can still hit your raid members during this time, so if you have Firebloom, please do not run on top of the rest of your raid group and kill everyone. So anyway, you burn KJ as quickly as you can from 85 to 55, and then have everyone who can move in towards KJ again shortly before, just as right before Phase 2. At 55%, Phase 3 begins. Phase 3 is largely a repeat of Phase 2. There will be another set of Sinister Reflections, which again must be tanked and AoE'd, and there will be another set of Shadow Spikes. KJ will also spawn 3 Shield Orbs each time now. Phase 3 is the hardest DPS phase, so if you have Bloodlust left, use them in this phase. Again, you will only have 1 random Dragon Orb, so you will only be able to survive 2 Darkness of 1,000 Souls, so the same time limit exists as during Phase 2. To make matters more difficult, Kil'Jaeden will also start using an ability called Meteor, which will begin with a Hellfire-looking graphic on the ground and then do 10,000 damage to anyone in the immediate vicinity. Be especially careful of these during collapses for Shield of the Blue, as they can and will happen near your stack-up place. Phase 4 begins when you get KJ to 25%. Prior to Phase 4, do not run into closer to KJ. Rather, your 2 reflection tanks should just pick up the reflections wherever they spawn, and you will ignore them. Don't DPS them. Just leave them alone and kill them after the fight is over. During Phase 4, all 4 of the Dragon Orbs are active, so you have a total of 8 Shield of the Blues to work with. However, KJ will start casting Darkness of 1,000 Souls twice as frequently as during Phase 4, so basically you will run in for the shield, run back out, and run back in only a few seconds later until he's dead. The DPS requirement during this phase is significantly lower, and if you can keep a calm head and keep everyone alive, you will finish the fight with little trouble. Continue to be mindful of meteors and Firebloom, and don't kill everyone around you. And that's the fight! Thanks for watching! If you happen to be at BlizzCon this year, say hi to me. I'll be the redhead surrounded by a large army of sexy gentlemen in Deathwish t-shirts. If not, then you can find me trolling the WoW Mage and Warlock forums as usual. I look forward to seeing you in Wrath of the Lich King. Best of luck to you.